Do you have a dream of writing a book? Has it been something that you've been talking about for a few years and you just haven't gotten around to it because, life? Well, if that is you, then this video is definitely for you. I'm so excited because today I'm going to share the right formula. The right formula. WRITE. So we're going to share the right formula so that you can finish your book finally, right? You can actually hold yourself accountable, finish that book, and get it out into the world. Share that message that you feel the world really needs to hear, and you are the only person that can tell it. So this is a great time. This video is inspired because I'm recording this and it is November. It's November 2nd. And it is NaNoWriMo, which is a National Novel Writing Month. And so it's this really wonderful time when people from all over are deciding, hey, I'm finally going to write my novel. And they decide to just get it out and write every day and make it happen. And whether you want to write a novel or a nonfiction book or book of poetry, whatever it is, this is an opportunity for you to kind of use that collective energy of other people that are writing whatever it is that they want to write, and know that that other people are sitting down and writing their book, whatever it is that they really want to share with the world. And so I published my first book this year. It's called Do What You Love. Oh, you can see it right over here. And it was a really interesting process. I learned so much about the book writing process and the publishing world and all of those, all the pieces, all the things that come along with writing a book and getting it out into the world. But obviously, before we can decide around how we're going to market it and get it out into the world, we got to write the book, right? Like the fun part is getting to market and get it out and share it, and people really start to resonate with the message. But actually sitting down and writing, it can be really challenging. And so today I want to share the right formula, WRITE, to help push you forward to finish your book, to start your book, and share with the world. All right. So the first part of the formula is W. Why? Why do you want to write a book? Now, obviously, whatever it is that we do, whatever dream that we have, it's important for us to understand the why. Like, why do we want to do something? Simon Sinek wrote his book, Start With Why, when it's a top podcast it's a top TED Talk for a reason, because that why really matters. Like, it's really important for us to decide, hey, why do I want to write this book? Do we want to write it because we want to get business? Do we want to grow a community? Maybe for some people, they say, hey, I just want to write a book because I want to leave something for my kids. Or, hey, I want to write a book just because I think it would be a really interesting exercise that would push me out of my comfort zone, and I'm going to learn a lot about myself and my writing habits. And so that is their why. And so whatever your why is, you have to become really, really clear on the why, because we need a strong enough why to get us through the challenging times, to get us through those moments, those days when we might feel like, oh my gosh, the last thing I want to do is sit down and write. And when we have a strong enough why, we look to that why when we're feeling that way. So it pushes us into action. It pushes us into like, okay, I just got to keep going. I have to keep doing this. And so taking some time and figuring out, why do I want to write a book? Like, why? It's really important. Some people say everyone has a book inside of them. And I remember I asked a woman that I interviewed on my podcast, and I said, do you think that everyone should write a book? And the conversation was really interesting, because it was, no, like, does everyone have a book inside of them? Yes, but not everyone should write a book, because not everybody wants to write a book. Like, not everyone has a strong enough why to sit down and actually write a book. Amy Poehler, I know she wrote her book, and she said, all these authors talk about writing a book and how exciting and impactful it was for them. And she said, I didn't love it. Like, she just like flat out said she didn't really enjoy it. And the more that I study authors and the way that they talk about writing, like, there are so many authors that are like, yeah, writing is hard. Like, sitting down to write is hard, which is why we have to make it a practice, make it something that we just do every day. And so even some of the best writers in the world, sometimes it's really challenging to put all of those thoughts that they want to get out onto the page in a way that is intriguing and exciting for people. So number one, why? Why do you want to write a book? Write that down. Get really, really crystal clear on the why behind you wanting to write this book. Number two is reveal the promise. Reveal the promise. Now, here's where you get to reveal the promise of the book. Every book that we pick up, there's a promise. Like whether it's the title, the subtitle, or the description of the book, we are being promised if you are going to spend and invest your time reading this book, this is the promise that you'll get out of it. This is what you can expect to get out of the book. And so we've got to be really clear about that, right? Like we have to know, like, hey, what is the promise? Now, a lot of times when people are writing nonfiction what happens, why it's so important for us to have the promise is that we have so much that we want to share. It's almost information overload. And the reader, this is why people, when we write a book, you have to really refine the message so clearly, because the reader, that's what the reader wants. The reader wants to know, okay, what am I getting out of this book? And so we can't be going off on tangents around all the things that we know. We have to make the choice to decide on what is the one thing that I really want to spend the next 6, 12 months or however many to write this book. Like, what is something that I'm so fanatical about that I'm excited to write about? I'm excited to explore more. I'm excited to do some research, whatever that looks like. And so we have to have a really clear understanding about what is the promise of the book. So reveal the promise of the book. That is number 2 in the right formula. The third part of the right formula is to identify who it's for. Identify who it's for. Who is the book for? Who are you writing this for? You know, you might have heard that marketing phrase. If you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one. If your business is for everyone, your business is for no one. If your book is for everyone, your book is for no one. We have to get really crystal clear. Think about some of the people that you follow, or think about some of the books that you've picked up. You picked them up probably because it was the title, the description, the subtitle that drew you in, that you were like, oh, this person is speaking directly to me. I need this book. And so we have to really identify, who do we really want to serve? Who are we serving? If you have a business, if one of your reasons and whys behind writing a book is to get more clients, great. Then who are the clients that you serve? And how can you write a book that you know is so specific to them that when they read it, they think, oh, she is speaking, or he is speaking directly to me. Like, we've all read books like that, right? When we're like, ooh, yes, they wrote this for me. And it's the most incredible feeling because we feel seen. And we can only do that for the reader when we know exactly who we are writing this for. I've heard from many, many authors. I've heard this from Anne Handley talks about it when she talks about writing emails. I heard this from multiple authors that talk about, I think about one person. I think about the one person I'm writing this book for. And what's interesting is that one person, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a colleague, maybe it's a client, but that one person could also be you 5 years ago, you 3 years ago. What book do you wish you had that you can now write for someone else, because you've gone through all the things that you've had to go through in order to get to where you are today, that now you can lend that expertise to someone else? And so that is a really great way to think about it. Think about, who is the one person that you're writing this book for. Get super, super crystal clear and concise on that. All right. The next phase is the T. It's in write, which is thorough outline. Create a thorough outline. You know, sometimes people think this is what kind of stopped me from writing the book for so many years, or procrastinate on it, which I was always like, I have to sit down one day and just like write the whole book, right? It's just going to like flow out of me. I'm just going to write this whole book. And it doesn't work that way. And you're actually doing yourself a disservice if you just start sitting down and writing, because an outline, what it does for you is it really helps you formulate the ideas of the book. It helps you formulate, what do I want to talk about? And then what do I want to share? Like, what stories do I want to share? What what's going to be involved in each chapter. And it really just it helps you focus, right? I love that quote, and it's attributed to so many different people, but Mark Twain being one of them. I don't know who actually said it, but it's I would have written a shorter note. I just didn't have the time. And why is that such a great quote? Because it takes a long time to create something so clear and succinct. That's why people will say, like, I wrote a book and it was 200,000 words and I had to condense it into 60,000 or whatever it was to publish the book. And so we have to have a thorough outline so that we stay focused and we know what it is that we want to talk about. And when we do that, it gets our thoughts so much clearer, so much more focused. And then when we sit down to write every day, we know what it is that we're putting in each of the chapters, and it just becomes a lot easier. So I really encourage people to create a very, very thorough outline. I know it's not always the fun stuff because the outline, like, we want to just start writing, we want to just like finish the book, but it really does help. In fact, when I wrote my book, I actually kind of sort of wrote it. Like, I wrote like I wrote a lot of pages before I started putting together the outline. And what I recognized was, wow, these are a lot of great ideas, but they're not formulating a book. They're not telling a story. They're kind of all over the place. Like, I don't know that I'd really be able to capture a reader's attention. And so creating that outline just helped me tremendously. So thorough outline. All right. And then the last phase in the right formula is to engage in a writing habit. Engage in a writing habit. I did another video around how to create your writing practice because it is really the only way to get your writing done, like to have a practice, right? Like, we have to put things in our calendar and we say we want to get them done. That was another thing that prohibited me from writing the book, is that I just wasn't making it a priority, right? It just wasn't a priority in my life. Like, that's all it came down to. I kept talking about wanting to write a book. I kept saying I was going to write one, but I never actually made the time every day to write a book. Now, the thing I love about studying authors is all authors, especially if that's what they do for like full time, they sit down and write. Like, they have a writing practice. Like, for some people, it's wake up in the morning and it's the first thing that they do. For some people, it's later in the evening. So whatever time is your most creative, whatever time is, and maybe it's not even your most creative. Maybe if you work full-time job or you have other things going on, maybe it is, hey, I have to do it in the afternoon at lunchtime, and maybe your priority, you wish you could do it in the morning. It's just not possible. Well, what is possible? What is possible? When can you make some of the time? And this doesn't mean that you have to make 3, 4, 5, or even 1 hour out of your day. This can literally be 10 minutes. So I have a friend who just finished his book, and he shared that his writing habit was he wrote for 18 minutes a day. So 18 minutes a day, he attributed that time to his writing time. I did something different. Instead of using a time, like an amount of time that I would write, I decided to do 250 words. So I wrote 250 words every day minimum. So that was a really good goal for me, because I thought, hey, every time I sit down, I'm going to write 250 words. Now, some days, I'm not going to lie, there were definitely, I just, after 250 words, I was kind of done. I was like, yep, okay, here's my 250, and I'm done. And then other times, more often than not, after I got 250, I felt like I could keep going. I felt inspired. I felt excited. Even when we think about the creative practice and the process that we put into any of our creative work, so often we feel like inspiration will strike. Well, inspiration doesn't usually strike until you get to work. Once you start getting to work, you realize you start to build some of that momentum. And so I noticed that often when I started writing, is that even if I didn't necessarily feel like it, I got really, really into it. And then you setting deadlines and really just holding yourself accountable to actually showing up and doing the work obviously makes a huge difference. I did invest in a writing coach, because for me, it was, again, it was one of those things where I felt it's time for me to really make this a priority. And so I knew I wanted to have somebody that held me accountable and also helped me become a better writer. So get an accountability partner, hire a coach, whatever it is that you need to do in order to like really stay on track with your writing habit. So that is the Write formula, WRITE formula, to help you write your book, whether it's a novel, nonfiction, whatever you want to write. And I hope that you found these tips helpful. These are things that have helped me. This helped me when I wrote my first book. I'm excited to continue to write and write another book and just explore different forms of writing. I always enjoy hearing from other authors, what they're thinking about, what they're writing about, what they're learning in their writing process. But the one thing that I have learned over the past 3 years, because I have been doing a lot of reading on writing, and I have another video that talks about some of the books for authors and writers, but I'm just so inspired by authors and writers because it it is a practice. Like it is a practice. And the only way to get better at it is just to do more of it, to just keep putting in the reps. So, just like the creative practice and anything that you're creating, putting in the reps, doing more is just going to help you continue to get better in the craft. And so, I hope that you found this formula helpful as you are writing your book. If there's anything that I can do to support you, of course, please let me know. And if there's any thing that you have used in the past to help you create and write your book that you want to share in the comments for other people to get benefit out of, I would love for you to drop those in the comments. And thank you so much for being here, for watching. And if you are not yet subscribed to my channel, please, if you want more content to help you create a career and life you love, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel so we can stay connected. And I look forward to seeing you next time.